Good morning.
Good morning.
It is so good to be back in Bremerton. This is I walked in, I was like, oh my God, you rearranged the furniture. I've been on a 7-week book tour down in the south in California and sunny Arizona and sunny New Mexico, all those sunny places that we've all forgotten about that they even exist. But wow, it is good to be back. And happy Mother's Day. Who's a mom in this room? Oh my heavens. Grandma? Great-grandma? Wow. That's something. I'm not a mom myself in the traditional sense of birthing another human being into the world. What a privilege that is. What a terrifying event. And an ongoing responsibility, being a parent. I am going to talk about motherhood a bit today in a different sort of way. Motherhood is creation at its essence. And there's no experience on this earth that gives us the felt sense of, in a way, what it must be like to be Source itself, bringing life into fruition, holding creation in the womb and the ongoing evolution of the life force and its billions and zillions and quadrillions of expression. Oh my God. For that moment, for that 9 months, we hold oneness as our being. We are one with another being, literally. And it's motherhood and pregnancy is not limited to being a mom birthing another human being into the world. We have the wonderful opportunity to experience this sense of unification with Source, intelligence, the creative movement itself, when we're birthing any project, whether we're man or woman, childless or with tons of kids, when we create a business, when we create beautiful music, when we inspire others with our words, when we write a book, when we do a painting. The moment of creation and those months, days, years, whatever of gestation, however long it takes to bring a particular creation into fruition, man, you're in passion. You are in a state, well, maybe of also confusion and a little bit of conflict and fear, and that goes with it. But oh my God, well, it's the unified experience. You are pregnant. And it's amazing. Motherhood, creation, is the foundation of life itself. There ain't nothing without that. So it is very peculiar to find that we're in a situation on our planet and in the United States right now where it seems that life itself is under attack. We just heard a beautiful song about the environment and protection of the environment against corporate forces and other forces that seem to have a different agenda going on altogether. Right now we've got, oh my God, the legislation was just passed where states can now defund Planned Parenthood. Legislation is in the works to make it legal to forcibly separate children from their mothers if the mother is an illegal immigrant. So they're holding the fear of taking a child away as a safeguard, as part of the wall to keep others out. It's now okay to expand collateral damage in war as a technique to torture women and children as a way to sustain our agendas in the political arena. What the hell is this? The EPA is being dismantled. Climate change is being denied. Arts programs, funding for the arts, the very thing that brings liveliness to our steps and to our souls and a smile on our faces that expresses the very innate, God-given right of creation, of being one with Source, is being slowly eroded. What the hell is going on? I can't be the only person wondering that question. So, that's what I want to talk about today, is address what the hell is going on and what the hell we can do about it. Last time I stood over there, and talked about the ego and how it's born. And I'm going to do a really brief reprise on this just to refresh your memory. Because this is at the very heart of what the hell's going on. When a baby is brought into the world and spits out of the birth canal and it hits the light, and it's like the tsunami of physical sensory information. Holy crap, it's light and it's dark and it's wet and it's dry and it's rough and it's smooth and it's cold and it's wet and it's dank and it's dark and it's scary and there's instruments and scalpels and oh my God, some guy in a mask and something over his head and what am I doing here? 11 million bits of sensory data assault that baby's brain every second. Skin texture, temperature, air, heat, sound, light, visual, senses, nose, the whole 9 yards. 11 million bits of sensory data. And it's ongoing right now. Everyone sitting here in this room, your brain is getting a flood of 11 million bits of sensory data, informing you that this world is physical. Physical, physical, physical. My body tells me that. Now, this is the ocean the fish swims in. This is the unconscious grounding of our being, of our humanity, the ground level of our ego. I am physical. It's an unconscious message that we carry with us from the moment of birth to the moment of death. The second message that comes from our senses is that my body tells me, my eyes tell me, I am separate. Again, it's unconscious. I'm over here, you're over there. I'm not you, you're not me. And as a little baby, I'm not conscious that mommy is outside of me and daddy's outside of me, but the milk I hunger for and have to sustain me is out there somewhere. And so I have to somehow cry or manipulate or look really cute or whatever it is. I have to learn really right out the bat how to manipulate what appears to be the outside environment so that I can be safe, so that I can survive. So the ground level of our identity as human beings, our ego, our sense of self, is I am physical and I am separate. Now, what this does is this creates a very, very scary dynamic in every human being on this planet. It's unconscious. But if I unconsciously believe that I am alone and individual and isolated from you and you and you and you and you, it sets up a ground level sense of insecurity. It also sets into motion what we call competition, capitalism. That's at the very root. We have to compete to survive against the other. That whatever it is, person out there. Hopefully it's mommy and daddy and my friends and my neighbor and my church community and they support and love me, but I'm also given the other message, that there are a lot of unloving people who are not going to support me, who will hurt me, physically, emotionally, mentally, psychically. So self-protection and competition and fear arise naturally out of the fact that we live in physical bodies. And there's nothing we can do about it. The thing we can do about it, however, is to know about it, to start to understand what the framework we're dealing with is, why we're at each other's throats, why there are people who are in power who have to be king of the mountain to prove themselves, to shore up that insecure place inside them that is still that little infant unconsciously believing that the world is out there and that it's a scary frickin' place. So we have to build walls, we have to have weapons, we have to have lots of money, we have to have 10,000 vacation homes, whatever it is to shore that insecure place up. The other thing that we don't realize that we have to start getting a handle on is the nature of this place we live called planet Earth, the physical realm, We have physicality, we have separation, and then we are born into a place of duality, where there's light and dark, and up and down, and right and left, and in and out, and fat and skinny, and intelligent and stupid, black and white. It's just the nature of reality. Because way back, I forget how many billions of years ago, if you're not a creative, if you're not a fundamentalist and you believe actually in evolution, way back when the Big Bang happened X number of billions of years ago, do you know what the very first thing created was? Electromagnetic polarity. Wow. The very first thing that was created. Big Bang happens, and then, let me see, less than a second later, it's actually 0.00032 zeros one of a second, we had positive and negative. That is the foundation of existence on planet Earth. So, now we believe we're physical beings, we believe we're separate, therefore we're vulnerable, we're isolated from one another, we're competitive, we're scared, we have to be secure, we have to secure the physical base, we have to survive. We also are in a system of duality. It would seem the cards are stacked against us. But again, what we need is understanding so that we can handle and manage these forces. So in Taoism, they talk about the polarized forces as yin and yang. And everything in creation has different elements and aspects and qualities to it. The feminine yin is earth and water. It's multifaceted. It's like quicksilver. It's all over the map. It's watery and fluid and moving. The yang is fixed and fiery and structured. The yang, the masculine, the male, the positive force in creation is structured. These are tendencies and qualities. I'm not saying all men are like this and all females are like this. These are tendencies that create the foundation of how we live. So we have intellectual and versus the emotional. We have rules and regulations versus fluidity and chaos. Kali energy is chaotic. It's Rip Snorton. It'll just tear your house down and it will flower and build it back up. It is uncontrollable. The feminine is out of control. It's everything. It's ravenous. It's nurturing. It's scintillating and it's quiet. It's all over the frickin' map. Yang energy, the masculine, doesn't like that. It needs to be controlled. So now I'm beginning to get to a place to understand even more what's going on in our current political situation. The powers of polarity and the effect of this divisiveness that we have, this camp we live in, bleed into spirituality and religion. We have a spiritual ego on top of our regular ego that says I'm a limited, isolated, standalone unit called a human being and I have to fight to survive and all this stuff going on. Then I'm saved. I find Jesus, or I find Buddha, or I embrace unity, and all is well. Unfortunately, what happens is we don't tend to realize that our old prejudices and the old identifications and forces are still at work even in our religious structures and our spiritual structures. There is still, all right, how many people here pray to go to the dark? Okay, yeah, nobody asks for that. We all want to go to the light. Oh God, please take me to the light. Nobody wants to go to the darkness. It's a very scary place because we don't know what is contained in the darkness. But the darkness, the womb of the void of all potential that gives us life, the womb, the dark womb that brings forth a child, the dark womb of the mind that brings forth a piece of music that's never existed before. Wow, that's the cradle of creation. It also holds all the scary things inside of us that we don't want to see, which is why we put it away. But we live in a society that's very structured and very much lost in this dualistic right, wrong, good, bad. I've got the answers, you don't. I know how it is, you don't. And I know the light and intelligence and Jehovah and the masculine God and whatever we want to call him is right and is going to hold this place together against the vast dark forces of chaos. And the feminine has taken the brunt of this for the last 4,000 years, since the rise of the patriarchal religions. Nothing wrong with this. This is evolution. We started off with the goddess and the identification with the chaos and the void and the womb and creation, and then we've moved into exploring the light, the intellect, intelligence, that other aspect of ourselves, and we identify with the light, with the light, with the light. Where we've got to go is in the middle. Not back to the Kali energy. Incorporate, embrace the feminine, the wildness, the beauty, the confusion, the sensitivity, the nurturing, along with the intelligence and the structure and the rules. The point is balance, which is incorporation, which is unity. Mm-hmm. What we've got going on is a society that isn't aware of these dynamics. We're ignorant. A great, vast majority of humanity is still ignorant. To the point that, and here's the really creepy answer to the earlier question of why the hell is this happening. I'm tippy-toeing into it with this discussion of light and dark forces and how the light is always held up as the ideal and the feminine is dismissed as scary and dangerous. I was on the computer way back in the Middle Ages, in about the year 2000, on the internet, and I ran across an article by Dan Rather, the newscaster. And he was speaking at a commencement of like Harvard or something like that. And he told the young people who were incredibly concerned about environmental issues and where are we going and how can we be wiser in our path as human beings and more evolutionary and more nurturing and supportive of each other and the earth, the health of the earth. And he said the reason we're dealing with the forces that we're dealing with, he said, I was approached after some environmental legislation was squashed in Congress. He said, I interviewed several congressmen and senators who had voted against the environmental legislation, and I was confused, so I asked them to please explain how the hell you can vote against saving planet Earth. And the answer was they sat him down and went, boy, you've got to understand that we are trying our best to save humanity. And the way we're going to save humanity is by bringing humanity into the light of God, by destroying the darkness and the earth. As it is said in Revelations, we are going to bring forward Armageddon because the Bible says that there shall not be an ascension to heaven by humanity until the last tree is cut down and there is nothing left standing. So we're actually the good guys. We are trying to help humanity get through this painful process and end the suffering quicker. So that's why we vote against environmental legislation and arts and children and mothers. It blew my socks off. I never understood this before, how anybody could have that kind of mentality. But it's very strong. Fundamentalism is making an incredible comeback in our world today, and not just in the United States. And this is the kind of polarized, egoic, ignorance belief systems that is driving what's going on today. So, what do we do about it? Well, just being here in this room is the greatest hope on earth. The fact that there are people such as you and me who are coming together in the light of a different understanding, who are not afraid to embrace all aspects of the human experience, light and dark, positive and negative, masculine and feminine, and walk in unity. So I wanted to say thank you very much for being who you are, and the kind of mind that you have and the open heart that you bring to this engagement and to your life, because this is kind of the last stand. This is where we've all got to stand up and make a choice and make a real difference and get involved. Because, and this is the exciting part about what we're experiencing today, is, oh my God, our motherhood, our parenthood is now expanding beyond our own pregnancy and taking care of our own progeny, whether it's our own children or whether it's our own music school or our own art, or God, please, I need to sell a whole bunch of books so I can get my next book published so that I can, be a writer for a living. It's got to expand beyond personal parenthood and personal interests. And so I wanted to end this with a little meditation that I use that I find extremely helpful to shift into a larger understanding about motherhood. This beautiful, creative, nurturing, protective place in our hearts that now needs to extend itself into our communities, beyond just our own families, beyond just the comfort of our own churches and congregations, and ooze out into the rest of the world to get involved and to become parents in a larger sense. So, without further ado, if you'd just like to get comfortable.
Okay, would you like a little bit of very, very soft music behind it, or should we just have silence?
Let's just have silence.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned to embrace the silence as much as I love music, but thank you.
Me too. It's part of music as well, silence.
Absolutely. It's in the pause.
Yeah.
I know I stepped you guys through an exercise last time that was all about who you are, and it's all in the pause and that empty moment with no story behind it. Okay, so close your eyes. Take a few calm breaths. And just feel into your body. Be comfortable in your skin. Sense the room around you, the person sitting next to you. Now, I'd like you to imagine holding a child. And it doesn't have to be your child. And it doesn't even have to be a human child. It can be a creation, a song, a painting, whatever. But now let's stick to children for the moment. Imagine holding a child. Just that sweet, sweet being that is the extension, the blossoming of life. All life, it's you. You can nurture and protect and be responsible for that child. But what about two children? Can you hold and embrace and nurture two children? Can you be responsible for two children? Now, imagine that there's a different way of looking at responsibility. You do not have to be responsible for the tuition for that child. What if you had 10 children? You're not responsible for the upbringing, but you can hold them. You can be able to their needs. You can love them. So, how many children can you hold and respond to in your heart? 5? Can you hold and embrace and love 10 children? 100? 1,000? How many children can you hold in your heart and nurture in your mind and soul? How many can you respond to? 1,000,000? We are infinite, boundaryless beings, and we hold all life within us. And we are able to respond to all of it with love and compassion. And that is the heart of motherhood. You can open your eyes anytime you want. That lies at the foundation of it all. That's the trick. That's the answer to ignorance and fear, isolation and separation, is this inclusiveness, this beautiful state where we know we are responsible to the whole of the world. Starting with ourselves, and it's not a strain and it's not a stretch and it's not scary because it is simply us and it comes from our heart and who we really are, that beautiful, intelligent, creative source of all things. So that's the answer. Be a mother to all creation. You hold it within yourself, know it, and walk it. And that's what I wanted to share today. I really, this is a very different topic for me. I've never talked about the masculine and the feminine, let alone, what am I going to say about motherhood? And happy Mother's Day. Well, what a blessing if we extend our identity about what mothering is to include the whole of the world and start stepping up and taking responsibility at a larger individual level, coming together as one. Thank you so much for having me on this beautiful day.